You know that feeling, right? That confusing dance of attraction where you're just trying to figure out what her signals really mean. One moment, it feels like everything's clicking, and the next, there's a wall. It's that tiny shift that can have you replaying every single moment, every word, every emoji.
And you're definitely not alone in that confusion. Why is it that one person's interest feels so obvious, and another's is, well, impossible to read? You might think, oh, she's just shy, or maybe she's playing games. But the real reason is often way deeper, and believe it or not, much more predictable than you think. What if I told you that all those confusing hot and cold signals are actually following a script? A secret script that was written long before you two ever met. And once you learn to read it, it can save you a ton of overthinking and anxiety. We all have this internal blueprint for relationships, and it shapes everything. How we look for love, how we handle distance, and, yep, how we flirt. So let's start decoding that script. We're gonna pull back the curtain and unmask this hidden blueprint of attraction. And I promise, by the end of this, you're gonna have a totally new lens for dating, one that can turn all that confusion into clarity. Okay, so the foundation for this whole idea is something really powerful in psychology called attachment theory. Now, it originally started as a way to explain the bond between babies and their parents, but researchers quickly realized, wow, this applies perfectly to adult romance. The idea is that our very first experiences with love and connection create a kind of template, a template we unconsciously follow for the rest of our lives. And that template has a name. It's called your inner working model. The best way to think about it is like a subconscious rulebook for relationships. Deep down, it's constantly trying to answer two huge questions. First, am I actually worthy of love? And second, can I really trust other people to be there for me? The answers to those two questions pretty much dictate the entire game of love and attraction. And this right here, this is where it all comes together. This chart basically maps out the four main results of that internal rulebook: secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. And as you can see, each one has a totally different view of themselves, a different view of others, and a completely different core mission when it comes to dating. Seriously, think of this table as our cheat sheet for everything we're about to cover. So when someone with an insecure style starts to feel attracted to you, their whole system goes into a kind of defensive mode. The anxious style, they use what's called hyperactivation. They crank the volume way, way up on their need for closeness. But the avoidance style does the complete opposite. They use deactivation. They turn the volume way down, basically silencing their need for connection to protect their independence. These two systems, they explain almost all the mixed signals you'll ever get. All right, so let's dive into the anxious style first. Their core mission, their main drive, is to chase connection, sometimes no matter what. This quote, this gets right to the heart of what it feels like to be anxious. Their inner working model is whispering to them, you're not worthy. So as soon as they feel a spark, a deep fear of being abandoned kicks in. Pretty much every action, every text, every signal is designed to get reassurance that you're not going to leave them. And you can see exactly how that fear shows up in their behavior. They might seem a little too eager or try to fast track the relationship by oversharing really personal stuff. They're on this constant validation quest, always scanning your face, your words for any tiny hint of rejection. And that text you haven't replied to yet? To them, that silence can trigger what psychologists call protest behaviors, like texting again and again, all because that hyperactivated system is just desperate for reassurance. Now let's go to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Let's talk about the avoidance style. If the anxious person's goal is connection, the avoidance number one goal is protecting their own autonomy. This is the core conflict for an avoidant person, and it's captured perfectly right here. They can genuinely like you, they can care about you, but as you get closer, their internal alarm bells just start screaming. To them, intimacy can feel like being smothered, like a threat to the self-reliance they learned was the only way to survive. So naturally, their signals are all about creating and keeping a safe distance. They'll use vague, non-committal language. They tend to prefer a more playful, low-stakes kind of dating. Physically, you might notice they lean back or keep more space between you, even if they're clearly attracted. And here's the most important part. That moment when they suddenly pull back, right when things are getting good, that is often their deactivation system kicking into high gear. It's a defense mechanism, and it's not always a sign they've lost interest. But hang on, this doesn't mean they don't care. Not at all. They just speak a different language. An avoidant person shows their affection through actions, not words. They're the ones who will offer practical help, fixing your computer or giving you a ride to the airport. They give thoughtful, practical gifts. And a massive sign of interest is when they start including you in their routine. Their love is shown through being consistent, being reliable. It's loyalty through deeds.
Okay, so now we get to the most complex, and honestly, the most confusing style of them all, the disorganized or fearful-avoidant. Their signature move, the push-pull. And this right here is their central conflict. See, they have both the anxious fear of being abandoned and the avoidant fear of being smothered. It's like having one foot on the gas and one on the brake at the same time. They desperately want love, but the closer it gets, the more terrifying it feels. The very person they want comfort from is also the person they're afraid will hurt them.
And this internal battle creates the ultimate mixed signal, the hot and cold cycle. They might come on super strong with this intense affection. Sometimes people call it love bombing, only to completely vanish without any explanation. Their engagement is totally unpredictable. And just when things start to feel stable and safe, they might subconsciously sabotage it by picking a fight or finding flaws. It's this tragic cycle that's all designed to protect them from the vulnerability they both crave and fear. All right, after navigating all of that insecurity, the secure style is like a breath of fresh air. Their trademark is confident clarity. People with a secure attachment style are just warm and consistent. They don't play games because their inner working model tells them, hey, I'm worthy of love and people can be trusted. They'll suggest a specific plan. Let's get dinner on Friday at 8. And they'll actually follow through. They communicate their interest directly. But you want to know their most powerful signal? It's the complete and total absence of ambiguity. You're never left wondering where you stand. Okay, so we've got the blueprint. Now let's put it into practice. This is your field guide for decoding those confusing signals when you're actually out there in the wild. This slide right here is the key to reframing everything. So that intense eye contact you thought meant, wow, she's really into me, through this new lens, it could actually be anxious hypervigilance, her scanning your face for any sign of rejection. Or that person leaning away, not necessarily disinterest, but maybe an avoidance deactivation strategy to protect their personal space. It's all about learning to see the distress signal that's hiding behind the behavior. And this is the most important thing to take away from this entire explainer. When someone is sending you mixed signals, it is almost always about their internal blueprint for emotional safety. An anxious person is just trying to feel safe from being abandoned. An avoidant person is trying to feel safe from being controlled. It is a reflection of their history, not a judgment on your value. Look, understanding this framework is like having a superpower. It lets you walk into the dating world with so much more empathy and a whole lot less anxiety. It helps you spot patterns in other people, and maybe even more importantly, in yourself. So, the question isn't just about decoding their signals anymore. It's about your own. Now that you know this, what kind of signals, clear, secure, and authentic, are you going to choose to send?